Today's podcast is with Darci Smith. Darci was a college athlete playing soccer at South Carolina State. She now helps college athletes prepare for life after college as a career coach. College athletes compete at a high level for their schools, but are sometimes unable to take on heavy workloads or even take on internship opportunities due to their demanding athletic schedules. Some feel inadequate entering the job markets after graduation. The company Darci works for, Athletes to Careers, helps these athletes with their resumes, interview skills, and reminds them that what made them successful in sports are the same characteristics that many companies are looking for. Darci travels to colleges throughout California, meeting coaches and athletes to help them. A young millennial woman working hard, traveling the roads in Southern California, trying to help others with their careers is an inspiring story. Here's my podcast with Darci Smith.
On my Travel Wins podcast today is Darci Smith. Darci is a career coach. I got that right, Darci?
Yeah, career coach.
I wanted to talk to Darci just as she's helping a lot of college athletes get their first step out into the career. Can you go ahead and give me a kind of a brief synopsis of what you do for them?
Yeah, of course. So we call ourselves career coaches, mostly because it resonates well with student athletes, obviously having coach in our name. And really what we do is we partner with universities and we help student athletes kind of make that transition from I'm going to go to practice every day, I'm going to work hard in school, I'm going to, do the best that I can to win every game or whatever the case is, and then transition in all of that into their business career. So we help them write their resume, we help them with interview preps, we actually meet face to face instead of just a phone call. So we kind of go through with them, what it takes for an interview and all that kind of stuff. And yeah, it's really rewarding. It's awesome. We're funded by our corporate partners. So they basically, ask us to seek out, strong talent for the business world.
Oh, I gotcha. Yeah. And you, right now you're based in California. What colleges are you working with?
Yeah, so I'm based out of Los Angeles, and my colleges that I currently work with are Northridge, Cal State, Bakersfield, Cal Poly SLO, UC Santa Barbara, and a little school called the Masters, and then Cal Lutheran as well.
Okay. But you said you have to travel to them, right?
Right. So obviously, the drive to SLO is about 3 hours. So when I go out there, yeah, on a good day, if I'm leaving at like 3 a.m. So usually what I'll do is, obviously to make the most of it in terms of traveling, obviously, it's what your podcast is about, but I definitely try and, set myself up for success in terms of, if I need to meet a coach out there, or if I need to meet a student, I'm going to call them and make sure I have, about 5 or 6 planned for the day, obviously maximizing my time out there. Yeah. And then, saying that as well, the drive can get a little mundane. So try and make the most out of traveling up the coast and just really enjoying that time. And whether it's listening to podcasts or whatnot, also kind of feeding myself some more information and just trying to better myself while using that 3-hour car ride,
Yeah, no, I definitely can appreciate that. I do the same thing.
Yeah,
although
definitely.
I might do a little more driving than you, but.
Yeah, I think so. I have a Civic, so, she drives pretty well. Just changed out the battery yesterday. Pretty pumped on that. Proud of myself. And yeah, no, I thankfully I enjoy listening to podcasts. So it really does help any type of travel, and I'll download stuff if I'm doing some flying. Definitely good time for podcasts as well.
Yeah. I still remember the days of traveling without it, but the satellite radio thing has been huge for me. And now having the podcast available where you can just plug your phone into it. I mean, you probably just imagine not having all that, using a regular radio and then driving up the coast and trying to find a station in Bakersfield and then trying to find a different station in Sacramento.
What's the radio? I don't think I know what that is.
It's the thing you have to wind up.
Right.
But yeah, so I mean, traveling nowadays is a lot easier. I mean, just having apps, and I can listen to, before you used to have to bring all your CDs, or I can go even older with the cassettes. Right. And, you're fumbling around with your big box of cassettes because there's one song you want to hear. Yeah. But just to have your phone and put it on shuffle, or it's awesome. That's the best part about seeing technology grow over the years as a business traveler. I mean, if you used to have to set a 6-hour flight to back east, it was a 6-hour flight of reading the same magazine over and over again.
Yeah.
And now I'm watching live TV. I can watch football games. I can see where I'm at. I can watch movies I've downloaded. I can listen to podcasts. I can listen to music. So
yeah, exactly.
Just all parts of travel have been awesome.
Yeah.
But when you're out talking to these athletes, what kind of message are you trying to get across to them? What are their concerns?
Yeah, so a lot of times as a student athlete, even people who, played sports their whole lives, maybe they didn't play in college, but they typically have the same type of mentality, meaning they're competitive, they have some type of drive, after school, they weren't able to just go home, even in high school, right? Like you're going to practice after that, and you better not be late because you're probably going to run if you are. So all those type of things that kids did as they're growing up and being a part of a team and being in sports, that all transitions really well into their career in the business world. However, most of the times, especially if you're a student athlete, you're in college, you're probably not working. So you're probably not the person, doing the internships or getting all that type of experience. So what we're teaching is you can still bring the experience you had as let's just say, football player, right? You're constantly traveling. You're constantly having to get with your teachers about, when can I take this final? Like I'm going to be gone for 2 weeks for playoffs. You're doing all these things that translate, like right into
real world. Yeah.
Yeah. Like the travel you're doing. Obviously, as you know, most jobs now require you to, whether it's long car rides or, basically schedule out your time. So you're time blocking. Okay, what am I going to get done on the plane? What am I going to get done during this drive? How can I make, my car phone worth something here so I can schedule a call during my windshield time? And so, by being this, competitive and driven person and having yourself set up to where, you're time blocking already, you're used to going to weights at 6 a.m., then you're going to class, then you're, still trying to have time to, be a kid and all those things. That's really what we teach is how do you transition that and be able to portray that in an interview.
Yeah, I was going to say that's, you could put, I played football, basketball, baseball, soccer, whatever on your resume.
Mm-hmm. Right.
But if you're not actually breaking out exactly what's really involved, I mean, I'm totally on board with what you're doing because I think a lot of college athletes, exactly what they do, like you just talked about it, translates directly into work. And if the person you're interviewing with has never played sports or at that high of a level, they won't know it unless you somehow explain it.
Exactly. And I think it's the same thing as, a resume is a piece of paper and, on some level, that's really the only thing you have when you're submitting it. However, there's, and the interviewer knows there's so much more to you than just that resume. And when you're walking into an interview, they don't want to hear what you put on your resume. If they ask you, what you did, they don't want to hear, oh, I played soccer. They want to hear, I played soccer. I was at weights at 6 a.m. I went to school. I took, I overloaded my schedule so I could do a double major. They want to hear exactly like what makes you. And, it's really cool because a lot of kids come to me and they're a little shy, a little like, I didn't do any internships. I didn't really have time and I'm probably not going to get a good job, or I'm probably just going to end up working at, anywhere I can find. And, it's encouraging for me to be able to like uplift them and say, no, like you actually have so much that you can offer to a company because of what you did in school. And it doesn't necessarily mean you have to have those internships. I mean, great for the people that were able to. It's awesome, right? But if you don't, you got to find the things that make you you and why people want to hire you. And it might just be because, you ran the fitness test multiple times with your team when, you passed the first time, but you sat there and ran it every single day until the last person passed. That's the stuff they want to hear,
Absolutely. I mean, that's someone that used to hire people. That's it. You're what you're doing is so spot on.
Right.
And
it's cool.
It really does make a difference. And, I still think one thing, when I talk to kids that are in college playing sports and that type of thing, I go, what you're doing is exactly what I have to do for my job. In the essence of, if you're playing at a college level, even at a D3 level, it doesn't matter. You're still going to travel to go play other teams.
Right.
And it's not like in high school where you're going to drive 3 miles down the road and play your rival. If you like, my daughter went to Towson, and they went down to Maryland. They went outside of Maryland to play games. Well, you still have schoolwork, you still have your friends, you still have to schedule everything around these trips.
Right.
And so how do you fit everything in? That's exactly what I have to do. You're joking about the battery in your car. That's what I have to do. It's like if I'm gone for 2 weeks, I have to make sure I got to go to the dentist. I got to get to the doctors. I got to pick up this. I got to do that chore. I got to do that honeydew. Make sure my car is going to run. Like all the errands that you can kind of, if you had a 9 to 5 Monday through Friday job, you could do. But I don't have that job, so.
Right, when you're constantly on the road and trying to figure out what's next and trying to not gain weight because you're eating out all the time.
That's a low blow.
I wasn't referring to you, but
well, no, that's another thing that athletes can really talk about. When I started traveling, if you get out of control with your food, your diet, and lack of exercise, it can, especially when you hit your 30s, 40s, and 50s, it adds up a lot quicker than when you're in your 20s burning fat by breathing.
Right.
So I'm very cognizant now. I mean, and I tell you, some of the cities I go to are not health food places. There's no Whole Foods in Selma, California.
Right. Yeah, you got to make the right decisions on your own. You can't just walk into Whole Foods and expect them to do it for you.
Yeah, exactly. Well, Selma, I don't know if you know where Selma is. It's about an hour and a half north of Baco.
Okay. And
it's on the way to Visalia, and I had driven through it dozens of times. And it's a town. I mean, it's literally a 2 exits, kind of town. We just opened up a store in there, and you go to the food places. You're like, okay, there's Carl's, there's McDonald's, there's, it's fast food everywhere. Yeah. So, okay, it's like, where am I going to eat tonight?
Right. Exactly. Yeah, I think. Especially in terms of like student athletes that are traveling, I mean, they're not used to that. Maybe some that did club sports growing up. But even so, it's like their parents probably, said, hey, get this done before we leave, for me, I graduated young and I was, in college at 17 and kind of just being thrown into the mix. And all of a sudden my parents were living in California. I was in South Carolina for school and, we jump in. I was a soccer player. So, we basically start soccer before school even starts. So that's, right when I jumped in, it was like, your mind is just solely on soccer. Like you're going to 3 days. We had 3 days in the 85-degree
humid
heat, and humidity was off the charts. Yeah. And then, we're traveling and especially freshman year, right? Like you're young, you're not really sure how to handle things. And you're maybe not as like forthcoming with what's going on with your professors as you are come, senior year when you've gotten used to it. But you got to step in and be like, look, I have a game and I'm going to be gone for the week. And ironically, I was in a conference where we played Utah. So one of our conference games, we actually drove a bus to Utah from South Carolina, which is wild. So that took us away from school for quite some time. It's just a lot of professors didn't like athletes because of, they felt like, you think you can just take this test when you get back and special treatment. And it's definitely not the case. We were the ones taking the test first before we left. And then we have everyone in the class calling us like, hey, give us the answers. You took it before us. So, it's, that's what I tell my candidates too. I'm like, hey, you got to tell your employers about these, what you're doing. And especially with traveling, I mean, it's hard. It's not just, down the street, like you said, like most of these college games are, flights and this and that. And
I know. I see a lot of the teams when I'm flying.
Oh yeah, probably. We're probably the ones goofing off.
yeah, true. But even in high school, I'll tell you, when I coached lacrosse in high school, I think one year we had, 24 of the 25 girls were in honors or better, like a 3.5 GPA or better.
Mm-hmm.
And they were almost all of them were taking SAT classes.
Right.
So, here they are taking college level classes in high school, and it was the same way. It's like, okay, well, I need you. We're going to go drive to the Valley for a playoff. We had a game up in Santa Barbara one year.
Mm-hmm.
Well, a game at 5:30 in Santa Barbara means you're leaving at 1.
Right.
For traffic and then warm up time and all that. Well, so they had to reschedule some of their SATs, so they were coming on Saturdays to make up the classes that they missed.
Yeah.
It's just and that's all the scheduling and planning. And in high school you have your parents, but when you're in college, all of a sudden you're like, oh, I have to schedule all that.
Right.
But that's a big selling point for these college student athletes, I think. I mean,
yeah. It's pleasantly surprising how many employers really do seek out student athletes, and it's not always the ones that have played sports themselves. A lot of times, people who didn't play sports or are in these hiring positions, but they know, everyone kind of knows, right? Like what it takes to be a student athlete on some level. Like you have an understanding. There's definitely more on your plate. You have to learn how to time manage. You have to learn how to, understand that it's not just about the sport. You got to keep up those grades too. It's pretty cool to see a kid, I just worked with a guy coming out of Harvard. He had like a 3.8 and he played soccer, and it's just super impressive. And he was like, I don't know what I'm going to get. I mean, I haven't really done much experience wise, and all these companies want experience. I'm like, dude, don't worry. You're going to be okay.
Yeah.
Like, let's review this. Like, what do you have to bring to the table? And I mean, he had interview after interview, and he just crushed it because he knew, what people wanted to hear, and how hard it was for him to get a 3.8 at Harvard and also, be a starter on the team. It's not easy, right? So when he can speak to that, and a lot of other students that I work with are the same way. It's just really cool. And like I said, it's super rewarding, and I love being able to help and give them that extra boost of confidence,
Well, and you also get to travel. I mean, do you like that part of it?
I love it. I'm lucky enough to be someone that gets to work remotely. So my day consists of, I really have to like push myself to make my own schedule. I'm typically up at like 6:30, I hit the gym, and then I plan out my days according to where I need to travel to in terms of the universities. And I love that part. I mean, I think I'd get really bored just sitting at home all day because I love talking to people and being in front of people. I'm a really social person. So the travel piece is actually it's pretty much every day. I'm either on campus, or the people that I've met and are now my clients, I'm meeting with them at Starbucks all over LA. I think I've probably hit almost every Starbucks in LA now. Literally, that's like my office. So yeah, it's definitely I love it. I'm not one of the people that's jumping on a plane every day, right? Or every week. So I can't speak to that, but definitely a lot of car time. And yeah, it's actually one of the things I love most about my job, I'd say, as of now.
Well, and that, I'm saying, like, a lot of it's interesting because some people like the cube life, the cubicle life, and for me, it would drive me nuts.
I tried it; it wasn't for me.
yeah. I mean, I've done it, but and I think a lot of people need to figure out what they're good at.
Totally,
and it takes time.
Some people need the structure too of being, in that setting, in the office, in the cube life, right?
Yep.
I was there. I had a job where I was, on the phone 12 hours a day. I had a headset, like the whole nine, right? Like super cube life. And I every day I went home and I just like shut off. Like I couldn't do it. But once I realized, I think I just need that freedom to be able to travel essentially, right? Like go meet my clients where they want to meet instead of just like always having a phone call. I think it's really changed the way that, I work and how motivated I am every day to get up and get out and, go do that.
Yeah. For me, I just appreciate seeing different things. every day versus just sitting in a cube looking at a different screensaver every day.
Right.
You know, and there are absolutely days I hate. I probably do, for my job, I'm probably 75%, 80% driving and the rest flying. But, you know, I mean, getting out of LA is a nightmare.
Right.
You know,
travel in LA is, yeah.
You know, the 405 to the 101 in the morning, and that morning is like 6, about 7 to about 11.
Yeah.
Is rush hour. But once you get out and get past the people,
right?
I don't mind driving on the 99, the 5, the 46, the 101 up north. That doesn't bother me. But you know, just getting out of the traffic.
Look at, but at least it's not traffic.
There's a lot to look at. Are you kidding me? The 99?
Oh, the oil, you mean?
I've been through Oildale, and then I don't know if you've ever been over to Taft.
Oh yeah, that's where my dad worked.
Yeah, and I have a store in Taft.
Oh yeah.
So I've been through all those, and they're little offshoots, and that's kind of the fun for me is finding the different places. I posted so many pictures of me when I travel. I take a lot of pictures, and I put them on Facebook, and my friends are like, "Do you ever work? You're always on vacation." I'm like,
they're like, "You're so cool."
I'm like, "I'm not on vacation. I'm just I pulled over on the side of the road and took a picture." You
right.
know?
I think that's definitely something to be said about remote work, right? Like you kind of go hand in hand. Like you don't really get vacation.
Exactly.
But your vacations are more frequent. You're just working on them. But you get to see, you know, a little more of the world.
It's kind of like if you live close to the beach but never go to the beach.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It's like like when I first started, I would schedule my trips. Like if I was going to Boise, I would schedule and try and get in the night before I had to start work. Then I'd go to work, go to the company dinner, work the next day, and fly home the next night.
Yeah.
And so, like, I'd come home, people are like, "Oh, what'd you think of Boise?" I go, "I didn't see it."
Nothing. Yeah.
You know, now I always try and book in. I'll take the earlier flight or take a later flight when I'm leaving, so I can drive around and see part of it.
Yeah, it's that's smart. I think for my job, a little bit different, but anytime I'm visiting family or anything like that, instead of just going for the weekend like I would a typical, 9-to-5 job, I actually extend and I'll stay out there for like a week, and I'll actually go to the nearby universities that, like, my parents live in Florida, so I'll do that, or my brother lives in Philadelphia, so I'll go and visit the surrounding universities and see how I can obviously get some work done while I'm out there and seeing a new place.
And this is not off the travel subject, but are you given specific colleges, or can you go after anybody?
Yeah, so we do have, we're a small company, so there's about, I think we're at like 14 or 15 employees now. So we're all given, quote unquote territory, which is our specific schools, which I named earlier. However, there's definitely, there's so many schools, obviously, and there's only, 13, 14, 15 of us. So, if there's schools that are like kind of, untouched by one of our career coaches, then we have free reign to get on campus and start introducing ourselves.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah, it's nice. We get to, and then obviously LinkedIn's a, great tool. So if I'm going to visit friends, I was in Texas recently, visiting a few friends in Dallas, and I went on LinkedIn and I just started like searching a ton of different, student athletes around the surrounding universities. And then when I was out there, I ended up having like 6, interviews with them. So I kind of made it into a work / friends trip, which, we can write that off on some taxes. So there you go.
Yep. Part of my territory is Hawaii.
Uh-huh.
And everyone's like, "Oh my God, that's so cool." I'm like, yeah, it is. And I'll never complain about going to Hawaii.
Mm-hmm.
And I definitely try and put in some fun times, but it's still work. It's that's the one trip my wife's like, "Hey, you know what? My schedule opened up." I'm like, "Oh,
yeah."
When I had to go to North Dakota, you were busy.
Right.
Now I'm going to my Hawaii accounts. You're open. I got you.
It opened up. Yeah. Makes sense.
Yeah. So we try and do the same thing, and it is. it's that's the fun part about business travel.
Mm-hmm.
You know, especially if you're an independent contractor. You know, that was my territory when I took the job. So everyone's like, "Oh, you're so lucky." And I'm like, you know,
Yeah.
I don't know.
I think the key is if you have to travel for work, you got to tell yourself, you know, I'm traveling because I want to be traveling, not because I have to for work. And it can really change the mindset of, you know, doing all this travel and kind of making it a little more mundane. But you're like, oh no, I want to be doing this travel. Like, yeah, I have to work, but at least I get to see more of, you know, than I would, you know, elsewise. You know, so.
Well, you know, no one thought I was lucky when my store in Maui no-showed me.
Yeah.
Nothing like flying 6 hours for a meeting and then they go, "Oh, she called in sick today."
Yeah.
You're like, excuse me? How is she on her deathbed? Because I just flew 6 hours and spent thousands of dollars to come see her.
Yeah. That was probably fun.
Not so much.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know, getting an extra night in Visalia because your store says, "Oh, I'm coming back from my vacation an extra day." And so I spent an extra night in Visalia, and then I show up to my account the next day, and they go, "Oh, he's running late." How late? He might come in tomorrow. I'm like, hold on a sec. I could have been home yesterday with my family.
Yeah.
So I spent a whole extra day away from my family, money for the hotel, money for the dinner and breakfast.
Right.
And he couldn't even call me? You know?
Typical.
but the customer's always right. So you go,
yeah.
Okay, no problem. I'll catch up with them next time.
Yeah.
So they're always negatives. I mean, I don't know of any job that's absolutely perfect.
Oh, of course, yeah.
I mean, I'm sure you've had, well, your no-shows probably aren't as much as they're at school.
Yeah, my no-shows, but you know what's, this morning I woke up to a really fun email. I had just placed a candidate at a job, and he went through the background check, signed the offer letter. Everything's great. You know, I sent the VP of HR, I sent her a nice gift basket because everything went through, and he's starting, you know, on Monday. And the email came through today. You know what? I decided not to take the job after all. I'm just going to stay where I'm at. Without even calling me first. And I was like, okay, these are the days that, you know, my job sucks. For a lack of better term.
Yeah.
Yeah, that was a bit rough. That was literally just like 2 hours ago. And I was like so frustrated, you know, trying to call him, like, what's going on, you know. But that's just, you know, the life of someone on 100% commission.
Yeah.
I won't eat for the next couple of days. I'll be fine.
Well, yeah. I mean, that was like me. It's like I spent $130 for a hotel, breakfast, dinner.
Yeah.
And made no money.
Yeah. And you were hanging out in some weird town.
Visalia's not too bad.
Yeah. I mean, I'd say Bakersfield's better than there, though. Maybe I'm biased just because I'm from Bakersfield, but.
The only thing I'd say is Visalia's far enough away for me not to want to come home and then go back the next day. Bakersfield, I feel like I could, if it was my Bakersfield account, I would have driven home and then just driven back the next day.
Right.
And so I spend more time, like when I go to Visalia, and that's the other thing I try and do is when I pull up my hotels, I try and stay in the same chains, but like if I go to Visalia, I would go up the it's not the 29, the Three Forks Road, going up to Sequoia, and find some of the hotels that are along the river and all that, and try and find some different staying spots. Cool. Mm-hmm. You know, in Bakersfield, not so much.
You can do like Kern Valley, Kern River.
Yeah, and I actually did the rafting down there.
Yeah, it's fun.
Yeah. And
did you go to the brewery?
No.
Kern River Brewing Company?
No, I had my kids with me, so
and
they
can drink.
Now they can. When I took them, they were not of age. So.
Oh,
but yeah, I mean, it's like I go up to Tehachapi.
Yeah.
I've never stayed in Taft. I have a store. I have a store in Shafter.
Oh yeah.
And but I don't stay there. I have a store in Los Baños, but I don't stay there either.
Mm-hmm.
So it's all part of the scheduling. You know,
cool.
So like when I go to Salinas, I'll try and stay in Salinas and spoke out and go to Monterey and Try and see some of the cool things that way.
Yeah, that's smart.
But that's learning your territory, just like you. I mean, when you go to San Luis Obispo, if you ever get a chance, like I was, go over to Morro Bay.
Definitely.
Not Morro. Morro Bay.
Morro Bay.
Which is just, there's a town on the way over there. You have to drive through a city called Harmony. And Harmony only has 17 people in it.
Nice.
I've always wanted to take a picture of that. I thought there'd be more people living in Harmony.
I see what you did there.
Yeah, see? 17 people.
Dad joke.
What?
Such a dad joke.
Oh, wow. All right.
No, I love that area though. My favorite place is Cambria. I don't know if you've been there, but I love that spot. I don't know why.
I stayed there. That was one of the places I stayed. I had my account in San Luis Obispo, and I came down the one for my Northern California accounts, and actually stayed in Cambria, right on the water. There. It was awesome.
Yeah,
it's really pretty.
It's gorgeous. Yeah.
And just wake up and do a little 45-minute drive or whatever it was over to SLO.
Right. Yeah.
And downtown SLO's got some great places to stay too. Oh
yeah, for sure. I think it's a good spot. I mean, it's obviously a little college town, but it's really fun.
Yeah, and if you go I won't stay there during the college months, but like if you go in the summertime, and it's a lot more relaxed downtown.
Yeah.
And the bars and restaurants aren't as crowded, so it's nice.
Right. Yeah, for sure.
What with you give so much advice to student athletes. What advice do you tell them as far as like with what you're doing?
Like in terms of
I mean, you travel somewhat from work. You're 100% commission. You're an independent contractor. Or I don't know. Are you?
Yeah, independent. Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Do you ever talk to them about the ins and outs of being an independent person?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, to be honest, it's a hard job, obviously, right? Like being a contractor and whatnot. So, I try and tell them like the good, the bad, and the ugly. A lot of times when I talk to student athletes, they're like, "Oh my gosh, like I want to be doing what you're doing," and I'm like, "Okay, whoa, it's not all butterflies and rainbows." And to be honest, I think that it's really good for. This is my personal opinion, but I think it's really good for people to see both sides of it. If I had jumped into, contracting right out of school, I don't think I would be, where I am today, like in terms of the maturity level and the ability to, essentially make my own schedule, right? So the ability to be able to do that when I'm graduating at like 22, I just don't think I would have been, where I am today. So, I encourage everyone to get that corporate experience. Some people really thrive in that environment too.
Absolutely.
You just don't know it until you try it. And I think, especially right now with the millennials and whatever the heck they call the next people, Gen something. I just think they're so focused on, like social media and being an influencer and being this and that, and which is great. I mean, like follow your dreams, but at the same time, there's something to be said about, having something core on your resume that says like, I did that hard work. I woke up for me, it was Cintas. So I started off in Cintas. I was there for 2 years. I was waking up at literally 3 a.m. to get to work by 4. I was there till 5 p.m. at night, sometimes 6, 7. And I went through that hardship, and I think I loved it though. At the same time, I met my best friends are still from there. That office camaraderie, you can't really beat that. But now it's like I can actually compare the two. So when I'm talking to the student athletes and I'm encouraging them to go into these, kind of big time, business roles where you're wearing a suit and like all that kind of stuff, they kind of scoff at me because they're like, no, this is the age of jeans and flip flops. And I'm like, we can do that too. But let's think about how cool it's going to feel to wake up and like, look sharp and like feel good about yourself and walk in like with that briefcase being like, yeah, I'm a freaking business person. Like, follow me, and, you know what I mean? Like, so that's what I encourage. And, ultimately that's not for them and that's not for them. But I think it's a really cool foundation to have.
I couldn't agree more. I mean, I wore a suit and tie every day to work, and had the briefcase and did all that.
Yeah.
And if nothing else, it's made me appreciate the job I have now.
Right.
More
right.
so,
Both sides. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I know what it's like. I'm not sitting there wondering, God, I wonder if I'm more suited for that. I know I'm not.
Right.
And I get to wear jeans and boots and T-shirts and sweatshirts for my job now. And it's what I have to wear. It's what I sell. So.
Yeah.
And I don't have to pay for it. So.
Right.
it's even better.
Yeah. You got to find the wins.
Yeah. So, but I would, because my daughters are recent college grads, and a lot of what I've told them is exactly what you're telling all these people. It's go out and figure it out. Don't think you have to. If you're going to be a doctor, lawyer, that type of hard college, then that is what it is. What it is. But so many. I mean, if you're going to be a veterinarian, that type of thing. But so many people are graduating with a broad brush degree.
Yeah,
communications, business.
Right.
Go try it all.
Yeah, I agree.
I think the days, when I was a kid, people used to talk about, hey, you go work for General Motors or a big company for 40 years, you retire, and that's it.
That's what my dad did.
Yeah, I mean, my in-laws work for General Motors, and they retired in their 50s.
Yeah. That's what I thought my life was going to be. I mean, that's what my dad instilled in me, and he did that, and so I was like, okay, I'll go to Cintas, I'll be there forever, and I'll move my way up the ladder and the whole thing. And unfortunately, it just wasn't for me, and my dad wasn't the most happy, but he's learned that we're a lot different and kind of understood where I want to take my career and kind of my entrepreneurial spirit. But yeah, I think it's just so good to have that foundation. And when I speak to people, and especially, just in the business world in general, I already get so much more respect from them just by saying, I worked at Cintas. It helps me in my job now. So I wouldn't have that cred, I wouldn't have that corporate street cred if I didn't do that. So it really does
totally. It's interesting because when I tell people that I meet around, I live in the beach area, which is not known for its Western apparel. And if I'm walking around in my boots or whatever, people are like, "What's up?" And I'm like, "What do you mean? I wear cowboy boots." I go, "That's what I do for a living." They're like, "Really?" And some people all kind of get the look down. And then if we get them talking, I go, "Well, I work for Trammell Crow as a commercial real estate broker." And they're like, "You work for Trammell?" I'm like, "Yeah." And they're like, "Oh, it's the same thing. It's that kind of corporate street cred."
Right.
Because I work for a developer that was sold for $2 billion to an even bigger firm. Right. And so all of a sudden they're like, "Oh," I'm like, "Well, I'm the same guy, whether I was wearing cowboy boots or wearing a suit and tie."
Yeah. Every time I speak to a new client, it's, give them my background, and they're like, "Oh, I worked at Cintas too." It's and then it becomes this connection, and so it's nice to be able to kind of, even if you pull the, "Oh, do you know this person or this person?" You probably don't, but it's just kind of that easy way to start a conversation.
Exactly.
So yeah, it's definitely something I encourage, and I just think that for me, especially, I mean, anyone that I'm able to help, that's what's rewarding for me. And a lot of times, like you said, there's the doctors and the nurses, and I might not be able to help them find a job, but I can at least help them, beef up their resume or help them with some, wording on their essays to get into, grad school or whatnot. And
sure.
I think that's the cool part about our business, Athletes to Careers, is we're not only just getting them careers, but we're helping them, push forward in whatever career that they want. So.
No, I think it's awesome, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
So
thank you. Appreciate that.
Anytime you can help people. What's the best way for people to reach out to you?
Yeah, I would say LinkedIn is definitely, it's where I spend most of my time. I have an Instagram page as well called Work After College. And yeah, our business is Athletes to Careers. So, on LinkedIn, it's just look up Darci Smith, Darci Smith. And then, like I said, my Instagram page. And that's definitely the best way.
Cool.
Yeah.
So appreciate your time.
Yeah, thank you. I really enjoyed this.
Yeah, it's been awesome. I totally appreciate it.